Welcome to the channel. This is a scene that I painted quite a few times before, and it's from a larger photograph, and it just goes to show you that you can crop different compositions out of the same photograph and get a bunch of paintings out of it. Now this is a fairly simple scene, and we got to recognize the colors in the sky here. I'm going to put a little cat orange in here, I think, and maybe cobalt teal blue into here, and then cobalt blue up in the top here, top part, and so that'll really bring out just the subtle color differences in the sky, and then we'll get into this dark horizon line and the field, this double field or hay, whatever that is down there. I have added, you know, some distant hills in the preliminary drawing here, and there's one power pole here, and so I put a bunch of them into here, and it'll just draw your eye there. And hopefully I'm gonna make sure that this doesn't take your eye right out of the picture when we're painting it there. So I might comment on that when I'm doing that. So let's get going. So this time I'm not gonna pre-wet the sky. I'm just gonna go ahead and rely on my bead just to keep it wet here. So you just got to make sure that you mix enough pigment when you're doing this, and that way you just keep that sky wet when you're going across here. I've grayed this off in the top part of the sky here, and the reason is I just want to I'm going to frame the brightness in this image. And I'm going to put a little darker down into here. That's about all I'm going to do there, because the blending is going to take me down here. And I'm not dealing with a really large painting. And so I'm just going to start that into here with some color. Blend that in just ever so gently. And I'm going to come all the way across here while I'm touching that bead. And it's going to blend down. I'm going to leave that in there and just let that do its thing, and I'm going to make sure I keep this bead going down into here, and I do want it thinner into this area here. Get rid of those little white marks in there, and that'll blend. That should blend quite nicely, and it's maybe a little bit separated here, so that's something that you have to watch, and I think I'm just going to trust it that it's going to blend, and we won't have any problems with that there. So I'm going to get a little cobalt teal blue, and that'll give us our glow in the sky here. Cobalt teal blue kind of looks greenish when you're putting it on the brush, but when it dries, it dries kind of more blue, especially when you mix it into here with these colors there. I'm just going to go ahead and that, and it just makes it look like you got some cloud going on here. Just going to blend that in there like that, and you can come across at a bit of an angle here too, and then drop that in like that there. Yeah, that's looking good. And then we're getting into the kind of the cat orange section here, and I'm going to mix it up, and I don't want it too bright here. I'm just going to see what it does here. Yeah, so that's pretty good into here. And then I'm just going to come in with just some clean water, and from this side here, because I want a lighter on this side, and I'll let that come down here right up to I got some distant hills here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cover it all here, and it'll make kind of like a glow. Oh, I've got a little bit in here. I'm going to come this way into here like that, and yeah, that's looking good here. So I've got a bit of a line here, and I don't know if that's going to disappear, so I'm kind of going to make some little bands of cloud going across like that, and that'll clean that up. And maybe bring it right up into this area that I wasn't too happy with at the beginning here. Now you can go and put another layer down and just let that flow down like that there, but I think that might turn out nice here. I'm just looking at this top part here, wondering if it's going to settle down here, but I'm going to trust it. I'm just going to leave it. Okay, and then down into the field here where we've got some, you know, brighter yellows and whatnot, we can go ahead and We can drop a little background color into that. Darker into here. And I'm going to leave that mountain there for now. And put our gold in there a little bit. Little Quinacridone gold, let that come down into here. And blend that into there, just like that. And I'm going to leave a few little highlights in here. Don't want that many in the corner. I'm just going to fill that in right here. I'm going to leave that where it is there. And that's looking good there now. I've got another brush here. I'm going to just grab some of this green gold. And I'm going to let that dry just a little bit more there. And maybe come under here a little bit. And what it does is it's pretty wet with this green gold. It's just going to separate this a little bit and just give us some little bands into here. It's almost like you're spraying water on it. And it's separated in this Quinacridone gold. It's a really neat effect. And it's the same as what it'll do if you splatter water on it. It's a little bit, I want to do that, but it's a little bit too early for that. So I'm going to leave that as is there. So this distant hill in here, I'm just going to clean my brush. Sorry for stepping in front of the camera like that. I am standing this, and sometimes I said normally I'd sit to do is painting this small, but I'm standing here today just to try to keep my hand out of the way of the camera a little better here. I've got some distant hills here. I've got some light. Just going to leave a little bit of that in there. And this is bloomed up into here. So what I'm going to do is start working on these trees here as this is blooming. And they basically just paint themselves. It's just amazing what it does. It's the fun part of watercolor. One of the fun parts. Like that there. Might have been a little bit too wet when I did this, but I think it'll survive okay. I'm just going to clean up that lower edge probably as I get going here, and that's still pretty wet in there. So I'm going to start with this hill here, and I see it's too wet. I'm just going to wait here till it's dry a little better. And it's got a nice little kind of background first wash on there, so that's alright. And then into here, I think I'm just going to grab a dry rigger brush and I'm going to come across right into here like that. And that'll take care of that bottom bloom nicely, and that'll make it like it's shadows. Give that a little rinse. Put that there for later. Yeah, it's looking not bad at all. Okay, so down into here, we've got some more trees that we can work on, but I want to get this hill done before. And let's see, I think I got blue on here. Yeah, I got blue on the brush here. And I'm going to go, there's kind of a second hill that I painted here and a little bit into the background. And there we go, just like that. Now it's blooming up a little more than I want. I'm going to get my hand in the way for a second here. And I'm going to bring it down here. Use a clean paper towel if you're doing this. Like that there. Now down here, we've got about the right wetness in the paper. I'm going to go across here, put some nice little marks into here, maybe one a little under here, like that, just to give it a little bit of detail. You don't need too much. Dry that off. And what I'm going to do here, I think I'm going to put some Quinacridone gold. Let's see if I can splatter some of this on without getting it in the painting. I really need something over here because I know I'm gonna muck this up. There we go. Like that, and then I can move that across here. Now there's a danger that you got stuff on the back of this and it's gonna get on your painting, but we'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong? There, now I'm gonna pick that up carefully, and I am going to change it. I got another one here. Oh yeah, I didn't get some in the sky here. That's what could go wrong. On the front of that mountain. Okay, we're like that there. So I did get some in the sky over here too. I'm just going to see if I can pick those up a little bit, like that. good, done. And now I just got clean water on my brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and give it a splash of water in here, and maybe get some darker browns into here. I'm really worried about that sky now, especially with this darker color. Like that there, and then I can come across into these little bits into here. Now when you splatter like that, it gives you these little blooms, but you can kind of work on them. Yeah, do that like that. I'm going to clean that one up in the distance a little bit there, and that one there. Doesn't look right. There, it's looking better. And we want even darker down into here, so I'm going to go ahead and just put some neutral gray into this. Like nice mixing color here, and just under these highlights, like I like to do, making these little shadows in this field here. And then I'm going to go brighter. A little detail here. I want my distance still just kind of even like that. I don't want to splatter into the distance too much here. I just pull some of this up like this. And do a little bit of this, but not too much, just so it's giving you the idea that there's some green business going on here. That's my Undersea green that I like to use. Just put some of that on there. And let it do its thing just like that there. And I'm going to pull some of it up just like we got some grasses growing into here. This foreground. And we got a bit of hard edges here. I'm just going to break that up a little bit, just like that. A lot of ways you can do this too. You can use like a palette knife. I've got one around here, over on the other easel. Or you can use the other end of your brush and drag some of this pigment up, just like that. There we go. Don't wipe it on your jeans like I did. Probably not a good idea. And there, so this background mountain here is getting a little drier, so I'm going to get a little bit of burgundy yellow ochre and drop this in here like that. And my mountain is drier than I wanted it to be, so I'm just going to drop this in like that, and then I'm going to, just with some clean water, I'm just going to tell it where I want it to go. Just blend that in nicely into there. Just like that. And then I've got some trees. I don't know how wet this is here. It's still a little wet there where it's pooling. And that's about it there. I think I'm gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna drop water in there, or I think I'm gonna drop water in there just to make it bloom above. Just if you drop it above where you put the darks, it'll bloom upwards, right? So, and where it's wet below, it's coming down lower here. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. I can do this with a dry brush. And when you're picking that up, it's kind of giving you some nice little texture going on there, like that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I've got a tree here that's just got some, just some little hints of leaves coming out of it here. I'm getting a little bit strong there, just like that. And we got some of this on my brush, so I'm just gonna go in here in the distance. That's about all I'm gonna do right there. Now I've got another row of trees over here. This is nice and wet enough to put them in, so I'm gonna go ahead and put them in here. That pigment is way too wet. There. Whoop. And I can see I've got a lot of pigment on there. And I'm gonna gray that off. Well, it's fairly dark going into this row of trees here. Now I'm dry right up to my horizon line, so I'm just gonna trust this. No, I'm just gonna get rid of that. There's just still too much pigment on. So that's something you just have to look at and get used to. And I'll let this bloom into the upper part here, just like that. And while we're here, we can just strengthen some of these up here. You don't want to strengthen too far out there because it's going away from you, so you don't want to overwork that too much in the distance there. And then here we've got a lot of these bushes. They're coming up a bit higher, and we got another one right about here that's really sticking up. So we're just going to do that like that. And if you leave some light underneath here, you could put some verticals in here and they kind of look like tree trunks. So you can do that. That's about it there. And this line down here, it's a straight line, and I could tell I was wet right about to where that line is. So that's why it bloomed up from that line where it was, except for this little spot here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean it up. Like that. So this picks up pigment and also dries the paper at the same time behind. There, that's looking good. And we've also got some darker clouds in the photo coming in this way here. I'm kind of reserved. I'm not really sure if I'm going to put them in or not. And I quite like the light. The way that's glowing in there right now in the foreground is doing a good job here. I am going to grab, I got a palette knife here on the other easel. I'm grabbing that, and I'm just going to put a little detail down into this right here by just lightly touching the paper too. Don't really carve into the paper because you're going to damage the paper. Leave some marks in there. And if you don't have enough pigment, you can add a little bit and then you can drag it up. You can even put it right on your little palette knife here. You know, paint some detail with that like that. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna make a little bit in this end here just to bring people's eye back in. You don't want to do too much. You just kind of stand on the edge of the road here. So we're looking at this field. It's looking good there. So like into here, I'm just deciding what I want to do with this field. If I want the light's coming from here, if I want to make it darker down here, I think I'm going to cool this off. And cooling it off means you're going to, whoop, I guess I got a lot of green on that brush. That's why it's nice to test things beforehand. I'm just going to cool this off with just put a little blue into here. Let's see what it does. And some interesting colors. I've got some Cobalt turquoise, which is a really neat color, and it just gives you some interest into here, kind of like that. There we go. And then I want to get some, I'm just going to get some more of this neutral gray, and I'll see if I can just make some little bit of darker darks into different spots into here, like little shadows in this. And in the field here, I'm just going to put a little line, let's see what this does. A little line into this field here, and it's going to catch your eye and gives you some, it'll give you a little perspective, a little depth here, and because it's a thin line it looks like it's further away too. And I'm just going to leave it like that. I quite like what it did, so I'm just going to maybe put in another few little bits into here. I'm just going to tie that in there, just like that. And that's turned out not too bad at all. Now I'm just going to get into the sky here and put some darker clouds into here. And I'm just going to feel it. Yeah, it's dry enough to do that. And then in order to do that, you kind of need to wet the paper a little bit beforehand. And you got to make sure that what you laid down before is dry before you do this. And I'm just going to put in these bands of moisture in here. Now you can go over that when it's dry, but don't go over the sky again because you got green on your brush here now. I'm presuming I have green on the brush. Yeah, I'm gonna get some kind of grayish color into here. Yeah, maybe a little bit of red. Give it a little bit of a purple. And I'm just going to check the sheen on this. And it's a little bit wet here, but it'll be okay for down here. So, see if I can trap some light in here. Like that there. Maybe go down a little bit more. There, just like that. That should, and that normally will diffuse quite nicely. And I've got, I'm going to get another brush here. Just got a bit of a soft brush, and it's dry. And so I'm going to go in here and blend this a little bit. Yeah, I kind of like that little gap in there. I don't like that hard edge right here though. Oh, what did I do to that tree? Yeah. Just soften it like that. And see how it's lightening up, and when this dries it'll be lighter anyway. I just don't like this, I've got a bit of a hard line where it was dry into here, so I'm just going to blend that a little bit. And into here, I've got this tree has ended up being a little bit streaky, but I'm going to make it into the clouds that are behind here. Like that there, and there's a hard line there I see. You can see where the water on my brush separated that there. Bring it in a little bit more here. Now the lower it goes, you know, the further it goes in this way. Like that. Kind of like that there. And then there's a band that's going across here. No, I don't have nothing left on the brush. I didn't want a whole lot left on this brush to do that with. But in here like that. Maybe blend that in like that. It's a nice stable evening sky, which it was. It was kind of later afternoon when I was driving by here. I'm just kind of damp brush here now. There, just like that. And I think that's about all I'm going to do to it. And I'd like to thank again all the new subscribers. It's been fantastic. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And I'll look at this when it's completely dry. And I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot more to it except for sign it and hang it on the wall. Thanks for watching. It's a nice quick little video here. I hope you give it a try. Bye for now.